Somehow my slide disappeared. I would like to begin with the legal background of the evaluation. The story goes back to 1978, when the European Union decided to regulate the education of some professions, including veterinary medicine, and issued 3 directives. One was on the recognition of veterinary education, defining in another one the minimum requirements of training, and set up a committee, the Advisory Committee on Veterinary Training. And these principles were decided. Then a pilot study was started in 1985, and from each that time EU country, one school was invited, and the evaluation process was done in the case of these schools, one school from each country. And then on the basis of these experiences, the first evaluation system was founded. I have to add that in parallel with this pilot evaluation, the rectors of that time European vet schools decided to set up the European Association of Establishments for Veterinary Education, and it became bigger and bigger, and nowadays I think the number of the member schools exceeds 100. A crucial moment was in 2000, when the Federation of Veterinarians in Europe joined the evaluation system, and since that time, so for 22 years, the evaluation is run together with the FVE, with the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe. The basis of the recognition is of the professional qualifications, so is based on 2 directives. The directive issued in 78 was replaced in 2005, and that was amended in 2013. And today there are 7 professions in the European Union where the training is defined. So there is a European directive which defines the content and the methods of the training. That is true for veterinary surgeons, because we are the most important, but that's true for medical doctors, for dentists, nurses, midwives, pharmacists, and architects. The present-day evaluation is based on 2 pillars. One pillar is formed by the 2 European directives. The directive in 2005 that gives a detailed description of the training of including veterinary medicine, and the 2013 directive amended it. And there is another very important pillar of the evaluation. The ministers of education agreed on a standards and guidelines for quality assurance in European higher education area. In this paper, the ministers of education in Europe set up the standards of the quality assurance and introduced the principle of quality assurance into education, higher education. And the EAEVE, so our organization, produced a manual of standard operating procedure. It was amended and replaced several times. The present one was, so the last one was issued in 2019, and that describes the evaluation. What is important, it's a competence-based evaluation process because the above mentioned European directives define the day one competences, define what has to be done, what has to be known, what kind of competences should have a veterinarian at the time of the graduation. Because he has to be able to do all kinds of works, what is needed by the veterinary profession. So in the evaluation process, it is examined how the different schools provide this competence-based evaluation. It has to be evaluated if the graduates of the school have the day one competences. It means that in this evaluation process, the evaluation is focused on the undergraduate veterinary education. There are different types of the evaluation. The full visitation, you have already experience with it, not only one. Full visitation was done in Ankara. Then revisitation, if major deficiencies are found, in that case, a revisitation comes after the full visitation. The consultative visitation is something like a preparation to a full visitation. And the interim report, I would like to mention at the end, which is a report from the school between two full visitations. According to the present SOP, the present standard operating procedure, there are 10 standard areas. In this, within standard areas, you can find the different standards of the veterinary education. Their number is different in the different areas. Altogether, there are 55 such kind of standards. And in the evaluation process, these standards are evaluated and judged whether the school meets these standards. We have the first area is the objectives, organization, and quality assurance policy. In this phase, the evaluation examines whether the school has the veterinary education establishment officially has a mission statement clearly defining the aims of the training. It is very important that this mission statement has to be in correlation with the day one competencies defined by the SOP of the evaluation. The veterinary education establishment has to be a university level education. Ankara, your faculty is part of the Ankara University. The school has to have a strategic plan, has to have a SWOT analysis to identify the strong points of the school, the weak points, the points which have to be developed, and the points which can threat the further development of the school. So in this area, the area one, the quality assurance policy of the school is very important. Whether the school has the quality assurance system, a regular system that is working and analyzing the everyday work of the school. Area 2 is a very important question, that's the finances. The crucial question is whether the establishment has an adequate and transparent funding, whether it can meet the costs of the veterinary education, which is all we know that it is a very expensive form of training. And a crucial question, whether the school has autonomy, or the dean has autonomy, financial autonomy, so the school has the right to define if what they want to buy, what they want to develop. Area 3 is the curriculum. In the European directive, you can find a list of the subjects, and all the subjects have to be taught at the school, not in this form, so it is quite flexible, because it is possible that a certain subject is an independent subject or part of another subject. For example, immunology is an independent subject in some schools, but in some schools it is part of pathology or part of microbiology. Both, any solution is okay. It's very important that the school has to derive an evidence-based teaching, but the aim, the training, has to be a competency-based training. So it has to be clear that the aim of the teaching of each subject, subject has an aim to reach some of the day one competencies of the student. So there should be a clear connection between the structure of the curriculum, has to have a clear connection between each subject and certain day one competencies. So acquisition of the day one competencies is a crucial question of the curriculum, and during the evaluation, the evaluating team always examines whether the day one competencies can be reached by all students who graduate from the school in question. There should be a committee structure for quality assurance, so the quality of the teaching of the curriculum has to be regularly evaluated by appropriate committees of the school, and if necessary, the necessary adjustments can be done. External practical training is an interesting issue of the training. Several schools like to have an external practical training, which is done outside the school, and it is under the direct control of non-academic staff. So that's the situation when students, mainly in their holiday, spend a certain time a veterinary practice under the supervision of a practitioner, so not a university teacher, which this form of training is absolutely encouraged by the evaluation and by the directive, because it gives a closer contact for the students to the everyday practice in a certain country and in a certain region. But what is important, the external practical training cannot replace the clinical training within the school, run by academic staff members. The training within the school can be intramural, which is done at the clinics, or can be extramural, using a mobile clinic. But in the case of extramural practical, the training is done by an academic staff member from the school. So that's the main difference, and it's a main mistake by several schools to mix external practical training, which is supervised by practitioner. There is a university supervision as well, but the direct supervision is done by the practitioner. And the extramural practical training is completely controlled by the academic staff of the school. Facilities and equipment, again, a very important question, because veterinary the facilities, certain facilities are needed to veterinary training. So these facilities have to be appropriate, have to be regularly modernized and state-of-art facilities. Very important is the veterinary teaching hospital, and as I remember, because I was in Ankara, you have an excellent veterinary teaching hospital, a brand new, a couple of years old. And it is very important that this veterinary teaching hospital has to provide a continuous emergency service, so 24 hours, 7 days a week, for at least for companion animals and horses. It can be based on on-call system as well, that you have to provide the emergency service. And what is very important in the veterinary teaching hospital, appropriate isolation facilities are needed. Several schools, especially schools which are traditional old schools like Ankara, in the middle of the city, the clinical work for food producing animals is very difficult. That's why in clinics, in these universities, ambulatory clinic is necessary. This ambulatory clinic for food producing animals can replace the missing clinical work intramurally at the faculty. Biosecurity and biosafety is a returning question, and I think it is getting more and more important. I remember in Ankara you made a very nice isolation facility with high level of biosecurity and safety. Area 4 is animal resources and teaching material of animal origin. It is very important that the students have to meet all the important animal species, and they have to get enough experience with a variety of number and a variety of animals, including a variety of animal species and a variety with animal diseases. I put in brackets the pigs because I know that for traditional reasons a pig is not a main animal in Turkey, and it's a returning issue that even in the case of pigs, students have to have a minimum knowledge on infectious diseases, collecting samples, how to examine a pig. And I remember you had a few pigs for such kind of purposes. And it is absolutely conceivable that if you don't eat it. So perhaps it's something like a companion animal. Anyway, so animal resources and teaching material of animal is very important, because a priority among the day one competencies is the hands-on practice. So the students have to have enough hands-on training in order to have hands-on practice, and they will be able to treat any animals one day after their graduation. A very important part of this animal resources actually the medical record system. So the medical record system, it need not be electronic. Perhaps it will be necessary in a few years. Nowadays, it is only preferred. An electronic system is preferred, but if it's on a paper-based, it's okay. It's accepted, but it has to be a reliable medical record system where you can retrieve cases, where students can study the examination data and can follow cases on this system. Area 6 is the learning resources. Nowadays, it is very important that state-of-art learning resources have to be available. It means a well-developed informatic system where the students can reach the necessary sources, databases, journals in printed and electronic form, a good library where the students can learn how to use the library, and different kinds of e-learning and e-teaching methods. It is very important that this has to be reached by Wi-Fi of the students, or it is even better if with VPN systems the students can reach these resources from distance from their home as well. It's not a must, but I think there is a progression that it will be a must within a few years. The skills can be developed on models. So there are clinical skills lab in more and more schools, and such kind of models can learn can help the teaching of students. They can learn, they can develop their clinical skills. Area 7 is the student admission, progression, and welfare. It is very important that all the regulations for students, exam regulation, admission regulation, and so on, have to be clear and predefined, so the students can have access in advance, and they can learn what are the regulations of the school. A difficult question is the number of the students, because it has to be consistent with the resources. And I remember it is a returning problem at the veterinary schools in Turkey, because the number of the students who are taken by the school is not defined by the school, but centrally by the ministry. And it is very important, and I absolutely acknowledge that it is a current issue for the Turkish schools, how to adjust the number of students and the facilities at the schools. Selection and progression criteria have to be clearly defined, and they must be published, and it has to be clear for the student. Support the students' disabilities. Nowadays, there are more and more students who have writing and reading disabilities, and that have to be taken into account. And there should be a mechanism where the students can convey their request to the management of the school. Area 8 is the student assessment, the different forms of assessment, written assessment, examinations, and a direct assessment of the clinical skills is very important, because at the time of this graduation, the school has to be guaranteed that all the graduates who successfully finish the school will be able to do all kinds of day one. So they do have all the day one competences. And especially the direct assessment of the clinical skills is very important. And these requests have to be regularly assessed by the school. Academic and support staff. So the number of the qualified staff, including both academic and support staff, have to be appropriate. A very important question is, as I remember, it was not a problem at the Turkish vet schools, that at least 2/3 of the instruction, 2/3 of the lectures and practicals have to be delivered by veterinarians. That is the guarantee that all the subjects, it's mainly true for basic subjects, are taught from a veterinary point of view. Because, for example, my field, microbiology, can be taught by bacteriologists and by microbiologists, biologists very well. But we cannot implement those principles that are needed to the veterinary education. So the vet schools do not want to produce excellent bacteriologists, but we want to produce veterinarians who know enough about bacteriology and bacterial diseases. Formal training of the staff members is required regarding professional development, and other technical teaching methods have to be taught. A crucial question, which is a returning question at each vet school, that there should be a balanced workload. Each teacher has to have access to teaching, research, and service. If any of these main areas receives a bigger emphasis, it means that the other fields will receive less focus. Clear promotion criteria are necessary, so all the academic staff members and all the staff members in general have to know what are the criteria of the progression. And from a quality assurance point, a regular assessment, the assessment of the development of the staff is necessary. And we have, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, we have 10 such kind of standard area. The 10th standard area is the research programs, continuing education, and postgraduate education. At the beginning, I mentioned to you that the focus of the EAEVE evaluation is actually the undergraduate training. And you can find some kind of controversial why we focus on research. Actually, it is important because veterinary training has to be a research-based teaching, an evidence-based teaching, and that's why research at that school is very important. It is very important that if you have a research and the vet school had a very impressive research activity in several fields, it gives opportunity for the students to get involved, to participate in research programs. They learn the principle of the research, and that can help the research training, the PhD training of the graduates. The PhD programs are evaluated, internship and residency programs at the clinics, and it is evaluated. However, it is not a must for the vet schools to provide continuing education programs. Actually, there are several vet schools where there are independent bodies to provide continuing veterinary education. And the quality assurance of the research is part of the evaluation. As I mentioned to you, there is a regular evaluation of each vet school who are a member of the EAEVE. And just I would like to outline the process, because there were some changes in the recent years. It's a continuous change anyway. A great change that the validity of such kind of evaluation is only 7 years from 2016, I think. So the last visitation of Ankara was in 2015. That is valid for 10 years. according to the old system. But when you will be evaluated next time, that evaluation will be valid only for 7 years. It's an agreement between the European higher education area, because in that case it can replace national evaluation. Anyway, regarding the process of the visitation begins with an agreement with the EAEVE when the time is defined, is agreed between the EAEVE and the vet school, and it will be agreed what kind of SOP, which SOP will be the basis of the evaluation. Always, the principle is when you make the agreement, that time valid SOP will be the basis of the evaluation, and it can happen that till the actual evaluation there will be a change of the SOP, but you can remain with the old SOP, what was valid at the time of the agreement. Then a visitation team will be identified, and the next step is actually the most, from my point of view, the most important part of the evaluation, when the visited vet school or the to be visited vet school will prepare the self-evaluation report. The self-evaluation report, the outline of the self-evaluation report is defined in the SOP, and the SOP and the homepage of the EAEVE contains the template. It has a regulated form. And in the template is built that you have to, when you make the self-evaluation report, you have to identify how you deliver all the competencies to the students that make them capable, that make them possible to receive all the day one competencies which are needed at the time of the graduation. So this has a regulated template, and you have to provide the indicators. There are indicators. These are actual data figures. Figures of number of students, financial figures, number of staff members, number of different animals which were at the clinics, post-mortem cases at the clinics, and so on. And you have to give an average of, you have to give 3 complete years, generally the last 3 complete years, which was a little bit modified by the coronavirus because changed, and in some schools we had to go back 1 year more. And these the figures of the 3 recent years give an average, and you can find a table on the homepage of the EAEVE that gives the median value of the accredited vet schools, and there is a minimum value as well. This minimum value is the 20th percentile, so 20% lower value than the median value. The median value is actually changing because as there are more and more accredited vet schools, when a school is accredited, then the data of the schools will be also included in this database, and that will modify the median value. Not very much, but there is a fluctuation. What is very important that these indicators are not prescriptive, unlike in a previous form of the self-evaluation report. Previously it was prescriptive, so there were minimal values. Nowadays, these minimum values are not prescriptive, and you can compensate one value with the other value. So for example, in the case of farm animals, if you don't have enough farm animal cases at the clinics intramurally at the campus, that can be compensated by the mobile clinic activity. But anyway, such kind of compensation is possible. One of the next slides, I would like to give some special advice to you at the Ankara school. But generally speaking, there is a general advice that it takes at least a year to prepare such kind of self-evaluation report, because it has to be sent 2 months before the visitation. And then the next step of the process of the visitation is the visitation itself. At the visitation, the veterinary establishment receives a visitation team consisting of 8 persons. It includes an expert in basic sciences, an expert in clinical sciences in companion animals, and another in food-producing animals. The companion animals include dogs, cats, and horses, and exotic animals and zoo animals and everything. There is a practitioner expert. There is an expert in food safety and quality, including veterinary public health. There is an expert in quality assurance. We have a student expert, and a coordinator is nominated by the EAEVE. And this team visits the school in question. I will outline the program soon. And the main aim of this visitation, that looking around at the school, having different discussions with different staff members and students, the team has to verify that the standards, all the 55 standards outlined in the SOP are compliant, or there is a partial or non-compliance in one or more standards. The team has to write a report. This report has each area. It is divided into 10 areas as well. Each area has 4 components. In the report, you can find a brief finding, a summary of the findings, not repeated the self-evaluation report. If necessary, some comments and suggestions are given. And what is important, the team, the visitation team, has to reach a decision, has to define, in the case of each of the 55 standards, whether that standard at a certain school is compliant, only partially compliant, or non-compliant with the standards of the SOP. And these decisions are summarized in the form of a rubrics, a table at the end of the report, and it is actually all the standards are mentioned, and together with the decision of the team. The team spent a week at the school. The team arrives Monday afternoon, and there is only one official program. The team meets the head, the dean of the faculty, and certain representatives who are invited by the dean, including a crucial person, the liaison officer, who has a very important role in this process. Tuesday is a very tough day, because at the beginning there is a short meeting with the management of the school, where the head of the management team gives a short summary on the school, and the chair of the team summarizes the main aims of the visitation. And then there is a whole day visit of the intramural faculty, so all the institutes, departments, clinics, lecture halls, everything is visited by the team. On Wednesday, the extramural faculties, extramural facilities are visited. So slaughterhouses, shelters, extramural clinics, and so on, which are used in the teaching, and some of selected intramural facilities are visited as well. And the QA, so the quality assurance expert of the team, has a detailed discussion with the management of the quality assurance of the school. And in the afternoon, there are discussions between the team, involving the team, and the responsible persons of the school, who are responsible for the certain areas, and all the 10 areas are discussed. And in the evening there is a dinner with the management of the school, with the rector, with invited stakeholders. Thursday is the day of plenary meeting. We have a plenary meeting with the academic staff, then with junior staff, so graduates involved in teaching. It includes the junior academic staff member, residents, interns, PhD students, young academic staff members. There's a short meeting with the support staff, a very important meeting with the undergraduate student. And we have a meeting, an open session in confidence, where the team is happy to receive anybody, staff member or student or anybody who wants to discuss something privately with the team. And Friday, have only one official program, the exit presentation, when the team presents the results of or the conclusions of the visitation. The team has to identify which standards were found to be partially compliant or non-compliant, but the team has to emphasize that the team is not a decision-making body. The team can summarize its opinion only to the EAEVE, which will be the decision-making body. At the next step, the team will finish the report, and this draft report is sent back to the school to make factual corrections, and then this corrected version will be sent to the European Committee of Veterinary Education, which is a common committee formed by the EAEVE and the FVE, the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe, and this committee will give the final decision. If there are no major deficiency, so no non-compliance was found, in that case accreditation is granted to the school for 7 years. If more or less non-compliant standards were found, in that case pending accreditation is granted. It is new compared with the previous system. It is valid for 2 years, and these 2 years the school can correct the factual mistakes and if the factual mistakes are corrected, then a revisitation will clarify it, and then an accreditation will be granted. If these deficiencies, major deficiencies, are not rectified within 2 years after visitation, in that case, the school will be non-accredited and the full accreditation will be necessary. And regarding the Ankara school, Ankara school was visited, as most of you remember, in November 2015, and the EAEVE decided non-approval. Non-approval because two major deficiencies were found: the inadequate hospital facilities for small and large animals, and inadequate isolation facilities. I have to add that that time the veterinary teaching hospital was just under construction, so it was not finished yet. We could see it under construction, but actually this visitation is a snapshot, so it can evaluate only the present situation, what is seen at the time of the visitation. But fortunately, you could complete this very nice investment. And in March 2019, there was a revisitation, and the revisitation concluded that the major deficiencies were rectified, and EAEVE granted an approval from you in 2018. And this, since you made the evaluation according to, I think, the 2012 SOP, that time the approval or the accreditation was valid for 10 years. So that's why it is counted from the time of the evaluation, of the original evaluation. So it was in 2015. So it is valid till November 2025. In this, when you prepare yourself to the next evaluation, which has to be done before 2025 in order to keep your accreditation position, you will be asked by the office to give an interim report. This interim report was introduced a couple of years ago to ask the schools to summarize their progress in the recent years in between two evaluations. So in 2022, you will be asked by the office to produce such kind of an evaluation, and I think in a few years you can prepare to the full visitation. And I wish you all the best to this full visitation. The only sad thing is that since I was the chair of the recent visitation in 2015, I cannot be member of the visitation in 2025. However, I would be really curious to see your progress, which was always very nice to see in the past. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. That was for my last slide. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer. And I think I close the sharing.
Thank you, Dr.
However, I don't know how to close it.
I can do it for you. Okay.
You can do it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for your informative presentation. So we have questions. Dr. Mehmet Çalıcıoğlu. please. You can type your question or you can speak as well.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, dear moderator. Dr. Lazslo, Dr. Fodor, I would like to thank you very much because your presentation was very informative and very clear summary of the whole process, standards and the visitation process. I really appreciate for that. But I have a question about the EPT. You know,
Yeah.
it is relatively a new application, new issue. Sometimes it is hard to, I definitely appreciate the benefit of EPT for students. However, I see that it is somewhat hard to find eligible EPT providers, let's say private clinicians. They are not always volunteers, or even if they accept it, they may not be as useful as we expect. You are in the middle of Europe. I wonder how do you see other schools manage this issue? How do they deal with it?
I think it is quite different. I cannot complain. We are in a very advantageous situation because in Hungary we are the only vet school. So it means that all the vets who are working in the country are our graduates. And the graduates have feel that they are obliged to receive our students. So it is depending on the personal connection. I understand that Turkey is a very big country with several vet schools, so it is perhaps more difficult. What I could imagine, there are a few vet schools where there is a very good alumni system working. If the former graduates are somehow connected to the school, and if you ask your former graduates, perhaps they are much more happy to receive your students for EPT.
Do you think other schools are in good condition about finding EPT partners or providers in Europe?
I think it is generally not a problem. It is not a problem, and there's another thing that we have another problem with it. Several students who are very eager to find a good place try to find themselves a place, and as I mentioned to you, in this case, the practitioner is directly responsible for the training. That the school has to have some control, and if the student brings a place what we don't know, in that case the school has to check whether the facilities are appropriate, whether the student can receive an appropriate training. But as I mentioned to you, our situation is quite easy because there are 3,500 vets in Hungary, and for example, I think I know all of them. So in that case, it's easy to communicate with the former graduates. But I think kind of an alumni system could help.
Thank you.
And I found a written question. How private chat works. Yeah, sorry, it is different. It is not a message.
Okay. Thank you for your response.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other question? Dr. Halit Kanja.
Thank you. Professor Fodor, thank you for the presentation. And also, I'd like to thank you in the name of my faculty, Ankara University. That's your contribution is almost over 25 years for our faculty. So thank you very much. I'm currently the QA coordinator of the faculty, and also I'm an expert. Now I'm a member of the visitation team of the VEE of the University of Pisa.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be visiting the VEE.
Will it be your first visitation?
Yes, my first.
Yeah, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
It will be a hard work. It will be a hard work. You have already experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So one of my questions is about the different programs in different languages. So as far as I know, in the past you've been offering programs in different languages.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
So as you know, my faculty also offers 100% English program. So we for the last 3 years we have the graduates.
Yeah.
So now it's somewhat problematic for us that for in allocation of the sources, the human sources, the learning sources. So do you have any suggestions of planning this resource allocation in different language programs?
It's not too easy. However, I find it absolutely beneficial. We are teaching in 3 languages, in English and in German. The German is not complete. It is only the basic subjects, the first 2 years. And then the students either join the English program or return home. I think it is very beneficial, these English programs, because the teachers have to present everything in English, and that gives an excellent proficiency in English, especially for the younger generation. That's perfect. And I think the interaction between the students is really very good. But anyway, allocation of the sources is not too easy, because the crucial question that in this case, and that is connected with the evaluation, that if you are teaching in different languages, and it happens at several schools in Europe, the program has to be identical. In that case, in your case, in English and in Turkish. So some minor deficiencies can happen. But in that case, you have to be able to explain why. So, for example, in our case, there is some minor differences in the exam regulations, because we have to calculate that a Hungarian student has to travel a few hours by train to come to Budapest, and a foreign student has to travel hours by plane to come here. So they're not as flexible. So such kind of things. But I think it is very good, and it has another great advantage that all teach, and that's an important point regarding quality assurance, that all the materials which are important for the students have to be bilingual. So exam regulations, teaching material, kind of disciplinary rules and everything, all the rules which are important for the student has to be available in all teaching languages. So that makes it a little bit difficult at the beginning, but I think it is very good, and it is absolutely beneficial, and I think it is very good for the school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I have another question. So, especially after the pandemics, e-learning has gained more importance. So, and of course, the artificial intelligence and digital technologies have to be included in the curriculum. So, as far as I know, you have an e-learning system in your
Yes.
university. So can you just tell about some basics of this e-learning system, and do you have any suggestions for us?
You know, that's the situation from 2020 when we have this coronavirus. Several schools were closed in Europe. One remark regarding the coronavirus before answering your question, that there are special rules for the coronavirus. So all the schools where the visitation was planned but was postponed, there are special rules. It is not for you because you are out of this question, but there are special rules. Returning to your question, yeah, our school was closed, and we had to deliver the lectures on the internet. We used actually Microsoft Teams. It's not an advertisement, but we use Microsoft Teams. All the lectures were recorded, and we had to provide the recorded lectures to the students. We recorded it in two forms because the PowerPoints were recorded as well. Then in the PowerPoint was recorded in the form of a podcast, and the written material has to be provided for the students, and everything has to be uploaded. We use the Moodle system, and all the teaching material was uploaded to the Moodle system. And in addition, we had to offer consultations for the students, and well, actually, the lectures were streamed at the time of so we had a timetable, a normal scheduled timetable, and that was streamed. Then it was recorded in two forms, and the recorded form was uploaded to the Moodle. We had to give consultation time for the students, and problems with the practicals. The practicals were given in a condensed form when the school was not closed anymore. And there was a special, well, I am not a clinician, so I don't know the details exactly, but it was all the practicals were condensed for the students in small groups. The groups were further divided. And those practicals which didn't need animals, for example, microbiology, the microbiology practicals were recorded, and these recorded practicals were uploaded online. But in that case, no hands-on practical was given. But that was true for such kind of lab practicals like the microbiology, animal breeding, or something like that. It was very difficult anyway. I know all the colleagues were complaining, and I was always complaining, not because I am not a very good in such kind of informatic technique, because even the IT technology of the school was developed a lot, so that was beneficial anyway, because it is working even now without coronavirus, and I think the service of the students is perfect. So I am just looking forward to the examination, because now everything is provided for the students, how it will help the learning of the students. So I am very curious to see the assessment of the students, the exam results.
Okay, thank you. I have a final question. You know, we have approval status till the 2025, and our last visitation was on the old version of the SOP. So now we're in preparation of the interim report that we will start in May. Do we have a chance to apply for a visitation within EAEVE SOP, the 2019 SOP before 2025?
I don't know exactly. I think, well, I think this recent SOP from 2019 is a very well done, and it was a long process when it developed. So I cannot guarantee. I am not involved in EAEVE business matters anymore, so I don't know whether it is planned to modify, but actually I do not imagine major modifications. But the principle is, if you have the visitation in 2025, well, apply for the visitation. Well, I recommend in next year or in 2024, but 2023, 24, and you will make the agreement. According to the agreement, must use that SOP that will be valid at the time of the agreement. So I cannot predict what will happen in a year or in 2 years, but I do not expect major deficiencies. And I am very happy to hear you that you are involved in the visitation of another school, because your experiences, what you collect as a team member, will be absolutely valuable when your school will be visited. So you can have very good advice to the team of the school, who will prepare the self-evaluation of the Ankara school.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other question? Okay, Professor Rıfkı Hazıroğlu.
Yes, hi Lazslo, how are you?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you again too. Okay, I would like to say your presentation was wonderful actually. Very short abbreviation, I think very short explanation about this accreditation process. And it's really good, but I think there is some small differences in 2019 in Zagreb criteria. There is some, I think there is one of the preliminary visitation, I think they plus edit to some preliminary visitation, I think. And also the pending accreditation period, not 2 years, or it should be 3.5 years, I think, something like that.
Well, perhaps it is my mistake, because I checked the original rules. I know that because of the coronavirus, there were some modifications, but I do hope that thanks to the vaccination and thanks to the zero conversion of the human population, we will have not such kind of problems. But you are absolutely right. There were such kind of modifications, so the validity was a little bit became longer. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, you're right. I just wanted to just give some information about the 2019 Zagreb accreditation criteria. Actually, it's not anymore. I think, and also I paid attention very carefully. You are using our faculty's necktie. It's really appreciate so much. You are using this one. that's wonderful. You know, the Lazslo. And also thank you very much indeed again, and also please convey my best regard to your faculty staff. You know,
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No, it was a pleasure, and it was always very nice to go to Ankara and to any of the vet schools in Turkey. I like the vet schools in Turkey.
Yeah, I think will you sorry.
I wanted to mention that the point is that I think, you know, the success of such kind of an evaluation is actually the staff. the staff of the vet school has to be motivated. So the staff has to believe that the school can do that, and I saw it everywhere. So the staff in all of the Turkish vet schools was very motivated, and that's what I always liked. And that was the situation in Ankara as well.
Yes,
it was a pity last time that you couldn't finish the clinics, but that was a pity.
Yes, but you are so lucky. You know, in Hungary you have just only one veterinary school, but in Turkey we have 33. Yeah, that's why all faculties have some their own difficulties. You know,
I fully understand.
Yeah, right.
I fully understand. A couple of years ago, the Minister of Education in Hungary wanted to open a second vet school, and we were fighting against with full strength.
Yes, that's really important. That's really, really important. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And also, will you join the next General Assembly of EAEVE in Zurich, held in Zurich?
No, definitely not, because I have no official roles in EAEVE anymore. I was chair of the Internal Quality Assurance Committee, but my term expired last year, and now actually June is the examination period. And my period as head of the department expired last year, and that's the year of the transition. And during the visitation, which is during the examination, which is an oral examination, it would be very much important and a help to my successor to have a common examination. So I have to attend the examination.
Which time for convenient for the visitation of veterinary faculties or Turkey, for example?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You know that I'm a president of the national accreditation body in Turkey. That's why I would like to invite you to Turkey. Maybe you can give some information about the accreditation process. You know,
it's a pleasure for me.
That is the short description, actually, this one. I think a little bit longer one.
It's a pleasure for me. It's a pleasure for me. It's a pleasure for me.
Thank you, really.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fodor. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, Dr. Fodor, for a great presentation. We were very happy to see you again, and we hope to see you again soon. And whenever we have questions regarding accreditation process, we will call you. And,
that's what. So that's what I wanted to mention. That thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure for me. Any contact with Turkey is a pleasure for me. And if you are approaching to the visitation, I will be. And if you have any need, if you want to have some discussion, I am absolutely very happy to do that. And by that time, I will be even more experienced because our school will be evaluated in September next year. So I will be on the other side of the table as well.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation, and thank you for everybody for your interest. And thank you for your help when we were in Ireland.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.